Well, hello, and welcome to the Creative Writing Live podcast, where we talk with writers from all mediums and genres about themselves, their work, and advice they have for writers. I'm your host, Paul Zeidman, and my guest today is Matthew Faye Terry. We're going to be talking to him about his new book, I Came to You in Weakness. Matthew, or Matt, we're going to probably go back and forth on that one. Welcome to the Creative Writing Live podcast.
Thank you, good sir. Great to be here.
Okay, well, my pleasure. And as regular folks are regular listeners and viewers are familiar with the show, we'd like to start things off talking about anything we may have read or watched lately. Did we like it? Did we not like it? Or we never want to see that again? I'll go first just to give Matt a little bit of time to collect his thoughts. So my daughter is home from school for a couple of weeks, so we've been hitting a lot of movies. I had already seen them, but I knew she'd want to see them, so we went and saw Superman again. Still loved it. Saw Fantastic Four again. Loved it. And had the chance to see it. I heard good things about it. The Life of Chuck, which is an adaptation of a Stephen King short story. And it's a very whimsical kind of movie. I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I ever want to see it again, but it was fun. It was very thought-provoking, and it definitely inspired a lot of post viewing discussions between my daughter and
Yeah.
myself about
Okay.
about things, and trying to explain the whole story to my wife was an adventure in itself. And I'm glad my daughter was there to provide some details that I had forgotten. And I don't usually talk about scripts that I've read, but because Zach Kreger's Weapons came out this week, and I just heard so much buzz about it. I don't know if I'll actually go see it. I'm not a big horror guy, but I went and read the script for his previous film, which was Barbarian from a few years ago. That was really good, very suspenseful, and that made me want to read Weapons, so I was able to dig that one up and read that.
Mm.
It's very intriguing. I'm not going to give any spoilers because these are two movies that don't deserve to have spoilers spoiled.
Yeah.
But it's really great writing and very picturesque and very vivid. And if you're a big horror aficionado, you're probably going to like the movies. But if you like horror scripts, you'll probably like those as
Yeah.
much. Matthew, I'm sure that's a
Yeah.
lot to throw at you. But what about you?
Well, I'm rewatching the Chosen again, and I'm also delving back into Downton Abbey.
Oh, okay.
But I found a little nugget on, I think it was Amazon. It's called Everything Must Go. I'm not a Will Ferrell fan, but this one, it was jaw-dropping how dramatic and how powerful and how emotional this movie is. And just it goes to show that Will Ferrell is indeed a good actor, not just a goofy college type humor
Hmm.
that he does in these movies. But this is very thought-provoking. And in essence, he plays an alcoholic, and within the first 15 minutes, he gets fired. And when he goes home, his wife mysteriously left him, leaving all his possessions on the front yard.
Hmm.
And his wife changed the locks and the doors and the garage, and he has no access to the house at all to put his things back in. So he continues to go down his downward spiral of his alcoholism, but boy, you can really see the story arc of this character. If you want to see a hidden in the rough gem, Everything Must Go by Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I remember. I think I actually may have read the script for that a long time ago, probably like right after the movie came out or around the same time. And
Yeah,
just remember hearing that, it was such a departure from his usual stuff, like you said,
correct. Yeah,
that
yeah,
it was a very serious and dramatic role for him, and that a lot of
yeah.
people were really impressed with it.
Yep, yep, yep. I thought so too. I didn't realize. I mean, I didn't remember who actually wrote the screenplay. I got to go
Hmm.
back and look at the credits, but I was very impressed.
Okay, fantastic. Everything must go. So let us move on to Matthew Faye Terry, and we'll be talking about his new book, I Came to You in Weakness. I'm going to read the description on the back, the author bio. That is what I like to do. Matt Terry lives, I'm going to mess this up so bad. Lives in, Chicago. I just got it. He lives in the Chinese version of Chicago with his lovely wife, Pearl Ming Chu. Matt is right in the middle of God's will, working as a paraprofessional, serving children with special needs. In his spare time, he enjoys photography, traveling to China as much as possible, and of course, writing. Matt and Pearl, also active members of Moody Church in Chicago. So, Matt, let's talk a little bit about you as the writer. So, what is your background? I mean, were you always a writer? Is this something that you suddenly came upon? But what is like, how did I Came to You in Weakness? How did that come about?
I've never taken any formal writing classes. The book, the memoir came about when I was teaching English in Guangzhou, China, and I was posting on Facebook several times a week about my daily life, what I'm going through, what it's like living in China. And my cousin, who's an author, she said, Matt, you should take these posts and do a cut and paste and put them into a journal. So I put them into a Word document journal and I was reading them and I thought, this would be a good memoir because this is an unusual experience that not everybody goes through. So I put it in a memoir, had it self-published on Amazon and sold a whopping 13 copies. But I don't care. I'm not here for the money. But I thought, this would, I think this would be a good screenplay. So I did a lot of self-study on how to write a screenplay. And for those who don't know anything about writing screenplays, formatting a screenplay is not that easy. It's
Hmm.
not that easy. And writing a screenplay is not the same as writing a novel or a work of fiction. It's completely different. So I formatted a screenplay, derived it, adapted that from my memoir, and pitched that to some producers in Hollywood. Hollywood being the generic term.
Hmm.
And a producer gave me a recommend and consider, which is a high mark in Hollywood terminology. But unfortunately, that never came to fruition. So I was rereading the memoir, excuse me, the screenplay, and then the Holy Spirit told me, Matt, take this a little further. You're not quite done with this yet. So I wrote a mini series, and the mini series
Oh.
really stretches things out as far as what I experienced while teaching and working in China. And I've got 5 episodes written, including the pilot, and I'm not even halfway through the screenplay. So I'm guessing this will be a 10 to 12 part mini series. From that, have you heard the name Matt Boda, Get It Made out of Los Angeles?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
He does online studies on how to pitch a film and how to make a film. He said what you need to do is create a POC, which is short for proof of concept film,
Hmm.
and that's going to be used as a marketing tool to pitch to various production companies slash producers with the hopes they would buy the pilot script. So that's where I am. I'm in pre-production of the POC. I've got the actors hired. Is going along rather smoothly, and filming begins in St. Louis October 2nd and 3rd, which should, according to my producer, should be about a 2-day shoot.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So I have no experience in this at all, none whatsoever. I come from the corporate HR background and was laid off, and next thing I know, I'm teaching in China. So,
No. Well, that's a great segue to talk into like to delve a little bit more into the book itself. I mean, how it came about. You talked
mm,
about keeping a journal, but as you said, you weren't a writer. You
no,
were in the corporate world. So what
yeah.
was it that triggered the move from, okay, I'm working in HR and all of a sudden you're in China teaching English? I mean, what was the process for how that came about?
The short answer is a layoff. I liked my colleagues and I liked my company, but my boss was a bully, and she just pushed me too far one day. And I simply said, "Dear God," I prayed, "Dear God, get me off this sinking ship." And 2 months later, he answered that prayer, and I was laid off. So, how that led me to going to China? Well, I was serving at the Moody Church here in Chicago, and I was serving international students and scholars. One of the volunteers simply asked this question, Matt, have you ever thought of teaching English in China? And I thought that never even occurred to me. That thought never even occurred to me. So I put it into prayer, and I put it into prayer with my wife Pearl, and the prayer was simple as, if this is a path you want me on, dear God, remove all obstacles. And by His grace, He removed these obstacles, and I was in China for almost one academic year.
And so the book itself, I mean, so I came to you in weakness. So what I like to do is I like to ask guests to do like what we call like the 5 second pitch or the elevator pitch or the cocktail party pitch. So someone says, "Oh, Matt, I hear you're working on this book. Tell me what it's about," and you would say,
I would say I suck at doing 5 minute, 30-second elevator pitches. That's what I would say because that's true. It's about me when I was teaching and working in China and how I built up relationships with these students. It's God-centered. That's what it's really about, is God-centered.
Sure, sure. So what I thought was interesting that it's not really a straightforward memoir. It's not like I did this
No,
and then this happened, this happened. It's almost like not poetry, but it's as I think you described it somewhere, like it's very much in free verse.
correct.
That it's almost like
Correct.
very like all these micro chapters explaining
Yeah,
certain events that happened over the course
yeah,
of that academic year. So what
yeah.
was the choice to write it that way? Was that just your preferred way? It felt more natural?
I was greatly influenced by this book of called Inside Out and Back Again. And unfortunately, the author, her name escapes me, but she wrote it in what is called a free verse poem. And that book is about her as a little girl when she migrated from war-torn Vietnam. And a family in Alabama, a church family in Alabama, took her family in, and that shows that shows the viewer, the reader, how much her life has changed from one month being in war-torn Saigon, I believe it was, come to think of it. And the next month she's in Alabama living among all these strange looking people. A little boy with red hair, a girl with blonde hair and freckles, where it's a huge cultural shift in her life written as a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, and one of the things I
So
also oh, here, please go ahead.
that the style of writing really influenced how I'm going to write I Came to You in Weakness,
Okay.
because I want little snippets, but I want to somehow create a story arc through these snippets.
Yeah, and I think what was really interesting is that all of the passages that are written in here, all of your journal, so to speak, that there's no excess verbiage. There, everything
Mm,
is exactly written the way it should be and descriptive enough without being overly so, but it's also not very bare bones minimum. It's kind of like
yeah,
it's really straddling that fine line between the two.
yeah.
Was it challenging for you to do that, or was that just a style that you developed while you were writing it, or when you put the book together, did you go back and edit and fine tune things a little bit?
Well, I edited it, and my cousin, who happens to be an author, she gave me some good insight, and my wife, who's Chinese, she helped me do the proper spelling of the pinyin and the Chinese characters. So my writing tends to be much like my talking. I ramble on and on and on and on. So I thought this free verse, I think that this is something I can tell a good enough descriptive story without rambling and writing too much.
Okay, no, I definitely see that. As we've kind of, you touched on it a little bit as we've been talking, that spirituality, very important to you. Was it part of the decision to have quotes from scripture or include prayers as part of each micro chapter? And was it challenging to find or come up with like the appropriate passage for each of those micro chapters?
Well, no, I mean the title of the book comes from scripture, and I believe it's Second Corinthians. When it comes, my memory is horrible when it comes to where I saw it. But I Came to You in Weakness is taken from the book of First or Second Corinthians, where the writer Paul, he says, "I'm not an eloquent speaker, but I've come to you in weakness, preaching the word of God." I do it not for myself, but to boast about how God works through me. And I really like that way of thinking, because um, my first day, my first class, the first day, the first week I was teaching, I was nervous. I've never taught this. I've never taught before. And this is at the college level. So as the students are coming in, I'm greeting them and introducing myself. And when the roll call is done, all I heard was crickets chirping. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. So I said to the students, "Well, either you didn't understand what I'm saying, you do understand, you're too shy to speak, or you're too shy to speak because you don't think you can speak it well enough, or all of the above." And again, crickets chirping. And I just simply close my eyes, and this is where I came to you when weakness comes. I closed my eyes and I said a simple prayer, "Dear God, you take over." And boy, did that prayer work, because in my weakness of not knowing what to do, the power of the Holy Spirit took over. And I wrote on the blackboard. We didn't have a whiteboard, the blackboard. I wrote my wife's name, her Chinese name, Ming Chu. And I wrote that on the blackboard, and the students looked at it, and their little, brains are starting to translate. Okay, this man, he's married to a Chinese woman. Here come the questions. Does she speak Chinese? Does she speak Mandarin? Is she with you? Do you have kids? How long you've been married? Can we meet her? Can she teach for us? All these questions are just coming out of nowhere. Boy, was that an instant connection. That was such an instant connection, because of the whole weakness. I couldn't do this on my own. I needed help. So that's why I came to you when weakness came from.
Okay, no, I totally get that. I was going to ask, I did have like a couple of cultural questions. So what are some of the things about teaching in China that surprised you? And I was a little unsure of how many students you actually worked with. I wasn't sure if you had a couple of classes, but then I think somewhere you mentioned maybe 300 students overall.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, because each class only met once a week. So I think I had three on three on Monday, two on Tuesday, three on Wednesday, two on Tuesday, three on Friday, and I think altogether a total up to well over 300 students. What really surprised me in a very good way is how interested in how much these students want to learn,
mhm.
because education is so ingrained in the Chinese culture, so ingrained. So they take their education and what they want to learn very, very seriously. So that was refreshing. That was refreshing.
Okay. One of the things I found most fascinating is that a lot of the students, I guess, for their English names, they choose not typical names. I mean, I just wrote some of them down: orange, rabbit, shadow, cell phone, beer. I was like, did anyone explain why they chose these names, or you just took it at face value and said, okay, you're beer?
What was some English, excuse me, some chosen English names sounds very close to how they pronounce their Chinese names. Like iPhone, I think his name was, oh, I forget now. But if you say the name, the chosen English names, it sounds phonetically very close to how they
Okay.
say their Chinese names. Now, the student that really had a profound impact, her name was Lito, Litto, Lito Jack, but her Chinese name is Lai Xiao Jie. There's no comparison with the two. She just chose Little Jack for some reason.
Well, okay, that because I was really wondering if just they thought, you know what, I can come up with any name that I want, so I'm just going to pick a random word, and it just that's what it felt like.
Well, I guess to put it something that's easier to understand as well. My wife, her chosen English name is Pearl, but her Chinese name is Ming Chu.
Hmm.
Translate means beautiful pearl.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, yeah, I was going to say the alliteration sounds or the phonetic translations. It makes a lot more sense now that
Yeah,
you know
it does. Yeah.
looking back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is I was going to say? Uh, so you were there for the academic year, and then there was a medical emergency. Then you had
Yeah.
to come back to the U.S.
Yeah.
Have you been back since then?
Yes, as a matter of fact, my wife and I went back in 2017. My sister-in-law, Pearl's sister, lives in Hong Kong. So we went to Guangzhou in 2017, and many of my students met me in Guangzhou to celebrate the fifth year of their graduation. So that to me that was a blessing. And then some of them even followed me back to Hong Kong, and then we continued the party in Hong Kong. To take it even a step further in 20, this word 2025, right? The
Hmm.
Thanksgiving of 2023, I was in Hong Kong with Pearl, and the aforementioned student Lai Xiao Jie, she flew from Shanghai to Hong Kong to spend time with me.
Oh my gosh. I
It's
was
just
going to
because
ask. I was going to ask if you'd kept in touch with any of the students since then. I
all
mean, just a lot of
still do.
emails.
Still do. I'm surprised that many of my students, and I still call them my students,
Sure.
they're now parents of one or two children.
Oh my gosh. It's all about
Yeah,
perspective. That's really what it
it's
is.
all about perspective. Yeah.
Sure. I was curious that just kind of looking through all of the micro chapters in the book, was this almost a day-to-day record of the things that were going on, or did you have to go through and select things like, oh, this is kind of boring, I don't think I need that, or did your editor, who I think you said was another writer, I forget your sister-in-law or sister,
My cousin,
your cousin,
my cousin. Yeah.
did they did you have like editorial feedback? Okay, you don't need this. This is kind of boring, or actually, like, let's. Is there anything you can
Yeah,
add to this kind of thing?
yeah, her name is Kathy Boldock, and she gave me some really good insight on how to maybe do punch this phrase up or remove that phrase or just really beef it up a little bit. But as I said before, this whole thing there wasn't enough information in there, and that's why it now adapted into a screenplay. I mean,
Hmm.
a mini series because
Sure.
there's so many parts into and that need to be told. And most of the stuff when I'm writing the mini series, um, that was not in the Facebook posts, nor in my journal, nor in the memoir. All that is from my memory. I have a
Hmm.
poor memory, but when it comes to that time in China, my memory is very, very good. Very good.
Wow, that's impressive because there is a lot in here. I mean, because it's not a day by day sort of thing. It's almost it's a very chock-filled recollection of all the things that are going on. But it's also not just things in the classroom because you also have things outside of school with some of the students as well. I think like some student had a severe injury, and you were involved with
Oh my
that.
gosh, yes. Oh, that broke my heart. Yeah, she was standing on her balcony outside the off campus, and sh the story goes that she was standing on a chair, reaching high to hang her clothes to dry, and she toppled over
Hmm.
and she fell on an awning, and then from the awning she fell flat on her butt and on the back of her legs.
Hmm.
So she shattered her tailbone and really injured her lower back. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and
that
there's a
that that was really devastating. Yeah,
oh yeah, and there's a few chapters after that about the follow up and how you're helping her out and that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
In fact, I just found out 3, 4 weeks ago that another one of my students, at the ripe old age of 31, she died of cancer.
oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean that really broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. And I was able to contact my former boss at Peijong, and with her kindness and grace, she arranged for flowers to be sent to her service, her funeral service, and she
Hmm.
was kind enough to pay for it all. But really, that I'm very close. I'm still so close to these students spiritually, if not, of course, not physically, but spiritually. And when she died, it just took the wind out of my sails.
Hmm.
Just took the wind out of my sails.
I was going to say, have any of them come to America to visit you?
Yes, one of them has come to America, and she came to Chicago to visit me, and she just loved it. Would she move here? She says nope, but she
Interesting.
liked it.
Okay, that's great. That's great. What is it that you want readers to take away from, reading I Came to You in Weakness?
The takeaway is just to trust God and the path that He's put you on, even though you don't know where the path is going to lead. You just trust Him and surrender that what He's doing is for your own good as well as His own good. Hence, I came to you in weakness. And the great example is that first hour, the first day, the first week of class. I just didn't know what to do.
Sure, sure. I did notice that you definitely have a lot of moments during that time while you're a teacher that you're seeking some divine intervention, and
Oh yeah.
sometimes it actually happens.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes God says no, but uh, sometimes He says sometimes He says yes, and sometimes He says, "Not now. You'll have to wait." But He always answers my prayers. Always.
Yeah, that was a great part of the story. I am curious, since you have this a memoir out in the world, do you have any plans for a follow-up book or like some kind of I don't want to call it a sequel, but something to continue the Matthew Faye Terry adventures?
Just the completion of the miniseries. That's my primary focus right now. That's my primary focus.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I was going to say that so you as you said you adapted the book into a screenplay. Now it's a miniseries. Is it a straightforward adaptation? Is it a slight variation? Is it, here's what happened to Matthew Faye Terry, or is it did you have you changed some names around?
Well, there are some fictional elements to add more intrigue to the miniseries, but for the most part, by and large, it's accurate. And
Okay.
a good example is for some reason when I was teaching there, there was was a, student who he always sat in the back row corner, and he would always watch me. He would never speak, but he would always watch me. Not glaring, but a more accurate term was he was observing me.
Hmm.
And that made me nervous. Why is he observing me? And why does he keep looking at me? And then I found out that he was the president of the college Chinese Communist Party. So I don't know what
Oh
he was
wow.
up to, but the Holy Spirit told me, watch out for the student. He may not be in your own self, in your own interest. He may be doing something unplanned for you. But I never saw that come to completion because that's when I suddenly had to leave because
Right.
Pearl had her subdural hematoma, and 36 hours later, I was back in Chicago at her bedside.
Hmm.
But
I
there's something about that student that's really made me nervous.
Right, right. I was going to say that a big part of screenwriting and that subsequently television writing is that you have to have conflict in
Yeah.
the stories. And so there's a lot of scenarios and situations in the book that not necessarily jammed with conflict, maybe something very, very minor, apart from
Mhm.
the language barrier. Is that something that you had to punch up a little bit, or as you said, a little creative license here and there?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I forget, is the Canadian teacher Sasha, is he mentioned in the book?
I don't
I
remember. I'm sorry
I
to
don't
say.
I don't think he is. He was my true antagonist while I was teaching there, because for some reason he had in his limited little drunken brain that I was seducing all my female students, and he was serious about those accusations. He
Wow.
was deadly serious. So he was my biggest antagonist. But and he's mentioned, of course, in the screenplay and the miniseries. But as far as the book, I think my, my one of my early antagonists and antagonism, my what really put me back, what worked against me, that's the word I'm looking for. What worked against me when I first got there was the steps.
Oh.
Because I stand 6'2". Chinese people, they stand roughly 5'5" average. So
Hmm.
their steps, the stair steps are as high or as deep. And I kept tripping every time I go up those stupid steps to my dorm. Every time I would trip.
Well,
That's the
I
cultural
was gonna
shock.
what to say. One of the key conflicts is man versus environment, or man versus nature. In this
That's
case, it's steps. So,
in this case is steps, and the other case is eating at a Chinese restaurant when they don't have the Western alphabet to describe what you're ordering.
oh my goodness, that I certainly hope that's part of the miniseries. I do want the last thing I want to touch on is that it's almost a subplot of the book in the way is that when you present the class or classes with their here's what your final project has to be, and
Oh,
everybody
that was
has to
so
come
much
up with
fun.
a game show, which I thought was
Yeah,
so unique and it's such a great spin. I'm sure it was totally unexpected
yeah,
by everybody in the class.
yeah,
And just the enjoyment of that I could got from you working with all of the different teams and groups on their various projects and how they were able to develop it and how it went off in the end. And
yeah.
I just have a feeling that's going to be a major underlying subplot of your miniseries.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Completely forgot about that. Yeah, that was so much fun to just watch these students work in groups and how they would develop their own game show. I mean, I want everything. How you going to do the lighting? What will the punishments and what will the rewards be? What's the theme of the show? I mean, they had so much fun. But the best part was when I told them, I think 3 weeks in advance, okay, in 2 weeks, the final examination, you're going to have to go up there in front of the class and you're going to have to tell everybody what your game show is all about. But before you do that, next week we're going to have a dry run. And they said, what is dry run? I said, well, it's a rehearsal. What is a rehearsal? That's when you practice your game show. So during the week of the dry runs, it sounds like a medical problem, the dry runs. I went from group to group, and they told me what their game show was all about, and they used pretty good detail, but they didn't know that that was their final exam.
Oh,
So they didn't
okay.
know that the dry run was their final exam. So come the week of the final exam, I said, well, guess what? Yeah, we did the final exam last week, and you just didn't know it. And that they were greatly relieved because they were so nervous. They
Oh,
were
I
so nervous.
bet.
And what really made that whole create your own game show challenging for them, they don't tap into their generally speaking, Chinese students, they don't tap into their creative side that much.
Hmm.
Everything is down to memory, memorization, and application, but they don't push the creativity too much in their academics. So that's what was challenging for them to tap
Hmm.
into their creative side. But boy, they came through with flying colors. And some of these games were very unique, very unique. Oh, so much fun. So
Well,
so
I
many
was
good
going to say
memories.
when you're dealing with a generation that did not grow up watching, Wheel of Fortune or Price is
Uh,
Right or
uh,
anything like that. So it must
uh,
just it's probably an incredibly new and original take on what we
yeah,
consider a game show.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that the final winner was from the group called Mr. Right, and their game show was so simple. Spelling bee while you're playing ping pong.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. So you have to spell the word experiment while you're playing ping pong.
So each time you hit the ball, you have to you like is it a back and forth spelling or each side has to gets a word?
You know, each side gets a word. Yeah, and they're good. They're good table tennis players. So
Hmm.
they're concentrating on the ball going back and forth, sometimes at a breakneck speed, and they're thinking the word that they have to spell in the English word.
Oh my
They have to
gosh.
spell that word in English while they're playing table tennis.
Wow, that
What a
is
novel idea.
that is that. Are you familiar with this British show called Taskmaster?
Mm-mm, mm.
Okay, so it's in essence it's a kind of a game show, and it's usually the season is about 8 to 10 weeks long, and each week it's five British comedians most of the time, and they are given these really sometimes ridiculous tasks that they have to do, and whoever they accomplish tasks, and the host he evaluates who did it the best, who did it the worst, that sort of thing, and they all get points. It's
Mm.
very fun. It's very silly. So you're
Yeah.
the whole ping pong while doing a spelling bee just seems like it's lifted straight from that. So
Could be.
yeah,
They could have lifted that from a British show. I don't know.
could be, could be. Matthew Faye Terry, this has been great. So where can people find out more about you and your book? I Came to You in Weakness.
You can just simply Google it on research it or just go to Amazon. But I caution you, viewers or listeners, you have to type in my full name, Matthew Faye Terry, because if you type in Matt Terry, you're going to get a really handsome male models website. And trust me, that is not me.
Okay. It is Matthew Faye Terry Faye. So we know that the website is
MattFTerry.com.
okay, and which social media outlets can people also find you on?
Well, they can find me on Instagram where my profile name is Matthew F. Terry, or on Facebook, which is Matthew Terry, screenwriter, animation director.
Okay, and before we started, you also mentioned that you have a crowdfunding project going on.
Yes, correct. Thanks for asking. I do appreciate that. I have a GoFundMe campaign to help more people. I'm not to help more people back support the mission, not in a financial way, more or less just praying that the mission will be successful. And if their heart is stirred enough through the mission that they would give financially. But that's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to have people come into and have a better understanding of what God is all about. So I'm
Okay.
looking for more people to help with the labor, more people to believe in the mission.
Okay. All right. Well, we will try to put a link up to that as part of the show
Thanks.
notes on both Spotify and on YouTube. Matthew Faye Terry, and the book is I Came to You in Weakness. Thank you so much for being here today. This was a
Oh, thank
wonderful
you.
conversation.
Yeah, and I do appreciate it. It was fun. This was a fun conversation.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And viewers and listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, please hit like. Feel free to leave a comment and subscribe. For my social media, you can check out my screenwriting blog at maximumz.blog. For Twitter, I'm at maximum_Z. And for Blue Sky and Instagram, I'm at Pez Screenwriting, PEZ. And this show has its own accounts on Twitter at Podcast CWL. It's also that on Blue Sky. And I've got a couple of books as well, the Go Ahead and Ask books on Amazon, the ones about screenwriting and pie. Like I said, that's Matthew. I'm Paul. This has been the Creative Writing Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, go write something.
Absolutely.